Welcome to Hustle and Healing, the Real Talk podcast on pregnancy, postpartum, and motherhood. I'm your host, Jessica Lauser, here for the raw stories, honest laughs, and everything in between. Let's dive in. I was like, so not only are you going to have to watch our kids, but you're also going to maybe have to watch my friends or the mothers.
Mm-hmm. Study daycare. They made a whole movie about it.
Yeah.
He can study up.
So,
Fine.
so I was like, you just may have to be prepared to also step in and be the babysitter because he's also my producer. So
who's the editor?
He's also the editor.
I like that.
I'm just here to talk to my friends. And he needs to hugs and kisses.
Sick.
So
that's all he ever asked for anyways.
Right? So, okay. First episode. Bear with me because shit's about to get wild. But we are here with Hustle and Healing, and today we have Brandi Tolbert.
Hello.
So, all the things.
Virginia Beach native, current transient.
Mom of 2, beautiful kids. Crazy boy.
Yeah, I think they're all born that way, though. Right from the get-go. They just are different.
Yeah, I
used to see you like really going through it so early on. I was like, wow, I just don't remember it being that rough. And then John really gave me a reality check.
Mm-hmm. But at what point?
It's hard when it's your second because they are already trying to accomplish everything the older child is doing. So we always joke that John's not 3, he's 5 like Olivia. Or, you know what I mean? He's doing things that a 5-year-old is doing because he wants to keep up with the older sibling.
Right.
So I think it honestly was just right from the get-go. As soon as he could start walking, he was jumping. And as soon as he was jumping, he was on top of the island. We no longer have bar stools in our kitchen because we just can't. We have to have baby gates up still. I can see yours. We thought we would be out of this phase. Definitely by this point. I mean, I guess at 2.5, you probably still need some, but he just will unlock the door, walk right out. Olivia would never. She'd be like, can I, still ask. I think, I never know if it's first child versus second child or if it's truly just girls versus boys.
I mean, Trip is almost 4, and it's funny when you say, like, the phase, because I don't know when the
you're like actually ends until they're 18 and then they're not your problem anymore.
Because Trip is just 3. So 3 teenagers that are so difficult where there was just so many different things, whether it was the independence is there, but it's not there. And so he was frustrated that we can't let him do something and he wants to jump in and cut with this sharp knife, and then we give him something, but he doesn't want the one that he has. And
the fear isn't quite there yet.
Yeah, but then you're so proud of them because he also so adventurous, and he's riding
the fear.
And he's riding,
double-edged sword, that one. So proud of you, but maybe just wear a helmet because you don't really understand the risk.
No, and sometimes he will. It's interesting to like watch him process things. So he'll be 4 and 8,
especially now that he's getting older.
And Josie's 8 months this week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So maybe give it a year and then I'll let you know about the difference because boys, they're fun and they're sweet.
Yeah.
But it's wild.
Definitely. And, I have a lot of thoughts about, people who have all boys because they don't. I don't know. I only know a few of them that have all boys. It changes you clearly because you go a little crazy, I think. I cannot even imagine keeping up with a house full of boys. And this is just the beginning stage, right? Mm-hmm. This isn't them with like BMX bikes yet. And then motocross bikes. And then, the added layers of danger, just like the risk goes up.
But you have nothing else to compare it to. So that's your norm.
Right.
So to have all boys or to have all girls, you don't really know that opposite side. But you had said something about it's wild and things have changed. When we look at, because we've been friends for over
We're going on a decade at least.
Yeah. So we knew each other in kind of like our party phase and before kids, and really a lot of what,
The
kind of
free state.
Yeah. Wow. It's gone. Right? Just to walk out the door.
We really took for granted all of that free space in our head and how little we had to put into each day.
I didn't know that I was going to have to ask my husband to go to the grocery store. Can you watch the kids so I can go by myself?
Yeah, that's a lot of self-care, getting to go to the grocery store by yourself. Look out. What a day.
So when you kind of had kids, how old were you?
So 2020, so 91 to 2020, 28, I guess.
Do you feel like there was like
Math is hard when you haven't slept for a long time.
Yeah, I guess I should actually ask, how many cups of coffee have you had?
This is definitely number 4. Okay. Without a doubt. I thought about stopping to get a Celsius. I'm going to need brain power for this. But then I just went straight for coffee. Because I was already an hour late for the meeting.
That's pretty good, though. That's pretty good.
I said, hey, can I come over early? And I actually show up an hour late. Sorry to derail this conversation.
I think I already anticipate if someone says I'll be there at 1, I'll just plan for 2.
I now give like a solid margin of error. You know what I mean? It's like 11 o'clock plus or minus 2 hours. Like you get a good grace period from me now. And
what's like text messages? I don't expect anyone to reply back, or I'm still in the pumping phase, so I'm like pumping at night, and I'm like, oh, I'll reply to stuff, and you're like, you're like, hey, might as well. Responds at 10, you may get a response at 6 a.m. Like, I don't know. And then from my other friends, like, I just know the stages of life that they're in, where I'm going to either wake up to 15 text messages because I've like blasted everyone late at night and then everyone replies right at 6 a.m. Or, we don't talk for 2 days. And then
I think we'll either all be by our phones because it's either nap time or bedtime, and then we can do like an hour's worth of talking, or it's just sporadic through the day as we can get to it text messages. It's just, we all are just like, well, they're probably busy.
Because we know what it's like, and you can kind of relate. And I think, especially with motherhood, all of the changes, and it's been really interesting just already kicking off with the first podcast, seeing all the different things that moms feel like they can relate to.
Yeah, with these forums, I mean, you are exceedingly organized with this. I'm very impressed. I don't know. That sounds bad. I wouldn't expect anything less than you are, always going above and beyond, and you're certainly overqualified for your current job. So I hope this takes off.
Oh, sorry, Jason, if you're listening.
I'm not. She needs a raise.
So what do you think was the biggest shift for you when you had kids?
True. I mean, saying everything is a cliche, but there's not really one part of your life that goes untouched. It's a true 180. Mental load. I mean, all moms now know about the mental load, just having to like file everything away. It's like, where are they at with their learning progress? What about school? What about this? Their shots, their healthcare, and then what foods are we feeding them? What foods are they supposed to be eating? It's just,
better get rid of that red 40.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just, there's no doing anything right anymore. It's, you buy one brand because you think it's good, and then Kirkland's decides to recall everything and decide that they've just been lying to you this whole time. So it just happens over and over again. It's just constant stress. But your sleep changes, your priorities change. It's not that I don't care about work, but it certainly takes a backseat in my life. It is what it is. I always tell my husband, this is just the chapter that we're in. We can revisit being the go-getters, because he went down not a great path in the beginning because he was told by employers, you should be working your hardest right now because they won't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But then you read studies that say the first 2 years are their most developmentally foundational, and they're building their tribe essentially. So you are supposed to be the most present then. And then obviously through their life. But
yeah, well, and you're never going to get, right? I mean, you're never going to get time back for anything. But I think having a second kid and reflecting on now, like, whoa, life went so fast. Like, I don't want to miss those things again because it just,
yeah.
you just robbed of time.
Well, and outside of that, I think there's such a high focus on the children when you really have to remember that the mom is also a human, right? Like we so easily fall into the mom category and it's like, oh, he has this work thing. He's going to keep working out this thing. It's like moms just are automatically assumed that they're going to just fall right in line and keep doing all the things that need to get done for the kids. And I was telling him, best case scenario, you're not affecting the kids by working till 3 a.m. every day. If you're really grinding it out and like we're seeing the paychecks, great. But what about me? You're leaving me to solo parent every single day. This is obviously going to cause a rift between us. I'm human. I would love to shower and not consider that self-care. That's necessary hygiene.
Mm-hmm.
Going to the grocery store is not self-care. Again, a necessary thing that has to get done unless we want to decide we're getting like groceries delivered, but I live in the middle of nowhere. So you kind of have to deal with the hand you're dealt. But I think the thing I most didn't expect was how much communication was missed between Zach and I before a little shout out to Gunner, notifying us about the trash man. I think I didn't realize how much communication was going to need to set the groundwork for being mom and dad. And setting expectations and verbalizing when I needed help. I just really wasn't good about that. We both worked from home. So we would just kind of, when we noticed things needed to get done, would just kind of do everything. Neither one of us really had to ask before kids. And to your point earlier, now we're having to ask for all these things. And then it's like, I'm already a mom to the 2 I gave birth to. The least sexy thing I can do is be a mom to you because it's not going to accomplish anything that you want as my husband. We're not going to grow closer in that aspect.
Yeah. And you had mentioned kind of like the point of, work. They're not going to remember. And so like his mentality was like, well, this is what I'm doing to provide for my family. And so that perception of, well, we need this, it's like, I just need you to do the dishes or I just need you to do those things. And they seem, I think, so simple because they just got done, or you didn't care before that they weren't getting done in a timely manner because you didn't have to move to that next thing so quick. Now, you look and you see something on the floor. I'm like, oh, better clean it up now. Or for me, it's definitely that like, I need to keep up with things because if they fall to the wayside, I'm like going to be on an episode of Hoarders. And like under all of the trash,
doing it, who's doing it, right?
And, and it's not a shot at like the other person. I think sometimes they genuinely like don't realize that we need something. And
yeah, that's a huge part of the conversation is that you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Because think about like when you go on vacation, you're not really involved in little ins and outs of what's going on the day-to-day basis in the house. But if you're on vacation for like a month and then all of these things were put into place, like we don't have this because the kids always get hurt, or we have to have the gate here because, Trip keeps going to get knives, or there are little ins and outs where it's like your partner then leaves the gate open every day and they don't understand how important it is to do these little things throughout the day. Like we have to get the dishes done in the morning because I need the bottles for the afternoon because this, like they're not involved in all of that. And especially because we have our kids at home with us while we're working at home. So there's no real break.
And how are you working? How do this? because I work from home as well. And I can tell you the times that I've had to have my kids home, I am like high anxiety, like I'm so heightened in those moments because I'm trying to jump from work to email to call. And then it's like, wait, but you want a snack? I just gave you a snack. Here's another snack.
And
How are
yeah.
you balancing that?
And so that was like another huge part of the conversation that Zach and I had to have, because I needed him to take the kids in the morning so that way I could do a good like 6 to 9 in the morning, like a good 3 hour chunk of work, because the kids get up at 6. So let's all go downstairs. You can handle breakfast. You can handle playing with them or entertaining them. And it was frustrating to sometimes see him just like plop them in front of the TV. And it's like, well, I could have done this. I need to utilize my co-parent, Miss Rachel, later in the day for when I'm on a phone call. So it those little things where it's like, it seems innocent. TV is not a bad thing all the time. Yes, we utilize it sometimes. We try to keep it at a minimum. But again, we obviously had to do a lot of couples therapy, which I do recommend. And I will say it felt daunting at first to, number one, admit that we needed to go. But number two, choosing somebody, we just ended up going with somebody who was faith-based because we were trying to just dive deeper into that, which has been like very instrumental for us and has worked out in a nice way.
And you guys, is that virtual or in person?
Virtual. So it did make us, again, one of those double-edged swords, because you're sitting next to the person that you're frustrated with, and there's no third person actually in the room to help diffuse the tension.
Yeah.
So then you just close the laptop at the end, and then you're just in that room with that same person. So we would just get up, go to separate rooms, cool down, then come back together. Sometimes we talk about it, sometimes we wouldn't. We didn't want to make it like a huge thing where we didn't want to ever go back again.
Yeah.
We tried to keep it light.
So time is of the essence. And so like I imagine, right, like just paying for childcare, having to like now have
we did it at night. Yeah, so we did it after we put the kids to bed. She was like in a different time zone, so it ended up working out that way. And that's why we ended up keeping up with a virtual therapist. And I think, your cousin ish, I don't know how she's really up to you now.
Yeah.
Was in therapy or mental health. And so you kind of know that it's not this big judgmental thing. And if it is, please go see someone else. But it's helping you with communication at its, base level. It would be, tell me about this. What I'm hearing you say is, and then, just acting as an intermediary, being able to reframe what I'm saying in a nice, digestible way to my partner. So that way, it's not that my therapist is siding with that person. They're just making it more understandable. And that way, and to be honest, I think their main goal is just to make everybody not defensive.
Yeah, well, because it's easy because you have your opinion and then they have their opinion. And it was interesting. Rob and I wanted to kind of dive into our finances and how do we do that? And I kind of have like money trauma. So I'm like, this is my money. This is your money.
Mine's just over here.
And so we met with a financial advisor, and I don't think he realized he was signing up for a counseling session because we dove in and like realized there was like that trauma and feelings attached to the money. And well, this is your debt or this is our debt. And it ended up coming down to just like talking, right? Having like the communication to talk about money, to talk about these things. And again, so just we talk about it so much, like you have to be a better communicator, but like no one's really practicing that.
And well, you wouldn't go to work without formal training. And they say that you're supposed to work on your marriage. It's hard. The easiest thing to do is just to throw in the towel, walk away. And sometimes, maybe that is the choice that you go with, but hopefully not. And, you just keep working on it. But communication is 90% of it, right? And our pastor, Ben, was talking about how, like, don't let your partner's offenses become offense. And he had, pickets and it would be like those little snide comments you make. It's like, oh, didn't want to unload the dishwasher again today. And he, put a picket in, this little flower box. And by the end, it was a huge fence with, a husband and wife on either side of it. And the whole message was the people that you love the most are the ones that are going to hurt you the easiest because you love them.
Yeah.
So, just take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
So easy to be mad and, curt with those people because you're more comfortable around them too. And I think you have to remember that biting your tongue will get you a lot of places.
Yeah. So going through kind of the therapy, do you feel like that kind of resolved a lot of things? Did you guys like,
I want to make it clear, therapy will not resolve anything, right? Like you got to put in the work. Therapy is just giving you a tool to help you build a new marriage. It's like, here's your hammer, here's your drill. I've taught you how to use it. Now you have to actually go use it and put it into practice. So we went for, I don't know, we still go sporadically now, not as scheduled. But I would say it took like a good 6 to 8 months to start for both of us to like, I don't know, but just we stopped bitching about the same things. We just wanted to stop hearing each other say the same things in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And we would just say, fine, you know what? I'll change that. If that's what all it's going to take, great. I'll just do that. I'll talk nicer. I'll give you a longer hug or be more romantic. And slowly, whether it's driven by good intentions or just out of spite, whatever it is, you're doing it. So,
well, and sometimes you kind of, you have to force yourself, and that sounds weird, right? Like I have to force, it's not like you're forcing the love on someone else, but you're so drained, you're giving 100% of whatever you have, right? And that's relative to the day. So your 100% is going to look different. You're giving it to the kids, you're doing all of this. And in my mind, sometimes it's like, look, you're an adult. You don't need me right now, right? These humans need me.
To push them away.
Like, right, we'll cuddle later, or I'll hug you tomorrow. And then that kind of turns into weeks. And you're like, whoa, where did that month go? And then they're feeling neglected. And so that's difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
And
it's all very difficult. And if you just continue on that, path, and in your head, you're wondering why nothing's changing or how did we get here? Neither one of you guys is choosing to be different. So not to say that everyone wants to be the bigger person and start changing things when their partner is perceived as changing nothing. But I will say that I was lucky enough to have a partner that did take changes head on and took a lot of accountability. And so I was a little bit more open to changing myself. And I don't think that can always be said for every relationship.
about what, if I can ask, like what changes, like what you say, like
sobriety.
Yeah.
Sobriety was a huge one. So, some people just aren't that happy with alcohol. If you are using alcohol as a crutch to numb your feelings, to make life more manageable, and it's no longer this thing that helps you calm down, just unwind after a long day. Like, I love a glass of wine at the end of the day. I've never felt the need to drink a whole box of wine every single night. And I think you can kind of start to gauge where you're at with your relationship with alcohol or anything that you're using as a crutch, really. Like, is it scrolling on social media? It's whatever you're putting your time and energy into. You really got to start to look at it and say, is this benefiting me? Is it benefiting my goals? Is it, where are my habits taking me? Mm-hmm. So I deleted Instagram. I'm on TikTok every once in a while, through gardening.
Scrolling is the worst.
But I can't. I mean, not that I'm here to advocate for TikTok, but a lot of like taking care of my chickens, a lot of fixing up our old house, my ideas for our Airbnbs, a lot of it has come from TikTok. So I will say that I will keep it at a very minimal amount. And I've now started to read again now that my kids are not breastfeeding and I have 2 hands to hold a book.
I'll be there too.
You know, I'm not one to throw stones at glass houses, because when you only have one hand and you're so tired, you just want to like zone out and get a little dopamine hit and just like feel that happiness. No judgments. But I, I always, again, it's what are you putting your time and your energy into? Because that is going to be whatever your input is going to be your output. So you can't, complain about your kids not giving you full attention or listening when they just see you scrolling all day and you're not making eye contact. You're just shouting at them like, hey, quit doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was starting to see that behavior in myself. And I was like, all right, something's got to give.
Yeah. And you don't realize until we look in the mirror and we see those things. But I mean, with Zach making that change, you also kind of had to change yourself too, right? Or kind of internally, like how does this dynamic, like this like family dynamic of what used to be before, and like the partying was fine, and then now we have kids, and then now this is not working, and it's not safe, and it's not healthy for you, it's not healthy for the family. And not only did maybe he re-identify kind of like what his identity is, and now that he's sober, like that kind of changes your dynamic. And how does that work for you? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's different because at the end of the day, we're two completely different people than we were when we first got married, right? Like we see glimpses of the old versions of ourselves, like on vacation or something. And it's like, if the kids aren't there, right? So like, let's say we go to Mexico, all is well. But in the day-to-day life, it was easy to point the finger and just be like, well, you checked out, so I can't give you any more of my energy. And I just would push him to the side and be like, just trudging through solo parenting, doing the house, doing work, doing everything by myself, and just like building a huge amount of resentment. And then so obviously our therapist saw that and was like, outside of these like couples videos or whatever Zoom calls, we also need to do some one-on-one work, because to your point, we all come in with baggage and we don't want it to affect our kids, we don't want it to affect our relationships. And mine was the need to feel safe based on like past experiences that were, harm was done to me. It was a trigger, was not feeling safe or feeling like lied to, deceived, like all of those things are huge red flags for me. And I will just shut it out, right? I will just be like, it doesn't exist. I'm not putting any energy into you. And then so when trust started to creep back in, you start to open the door to communication. But the thing that our therapist said that really resonated with me was, you build trust by the drop, but you lose it by the bucket, right? So it was every time we had a healthy interaction, every time I would think something negative or assume the worst, but was proven wrong. That helps to build trust. I think I see a lot of relationships with the expectation that things should quickly get better. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight, right? Like parenting doesn't happen overnight.
When I only have, right, this is your, 5 minutes, an hour a week that you have to really spend. So like when you actually add up the time that you are actively working on your relationship, it's probably very minimal. Even for the people who have babysitters, who have all of that, the time is minimal. So it has to be very intentional.
And it's much easier just to turn the TV on and just, turn your brains off and not invest in the relationship. And that's very easy to do. So there's so many different aspects of it. But being able to just level set with yourself and say, if I'm going to be in this marriage, I'm either in it or I'm out. And just kind of internally, like level setting and just being like, we're either investing in this or we're getting out, because I can't live unhappy like this. Mm-hmm. So communication, we read the book, The Heart of Addiction, and that was pretty revolutionary for our relationship, at least. And it was essentially that it's not necessarily about addiction. It's more about the need to feel in control. And so I think a lot of people feel out of control in their parenting because that's all it is, right? Like it's the unknown. We're handed a baby and sent home, and then the rest is like, full of mistakes and then guilt.
My cousin did give me a manual. He
Oh,
gifted at my baby shower a baby manual, and it's quite funny, but I'm not sure it's always accurate. But
because I mean, through all of my friends, all of our parenting styles are different. All of our children are very different. The way that our days are structured is different. I don't think there is just like one way to parent. There isn't just one child. They have their own personality just like we all do. They're all motivated by different things. So I don't know if we've just completely bypassed the topic I was supposed to be answering.
no, no. I mean, I think you do it all. And not only are you a mom, a wife, a friend, you're and working full time, so many other things that I'm forgetting, but like you're also kind of like on this entrepreneur road.
Yeah.
So like how did that happen? I mean, I know you guys have your properties in Baltimore, and that kind of has started out with like just a rental, and like what does that look like? And so now
You just have to be okay with being poor.
it's always been
Every dime you've ever gotten and just be okay with it.
I just want to throw in there, we're not giving advice on how to get rich.
Definitely not a financial advisor. That will never make it to my resume. But I will say that my family has always been in real estate, right? So the biggest advice they've ever given me is don't sell a property if you don't have to. It's obviously very hard now. Interest rates are crazy. The amount of money you would need for a down payment, crazy. But if you have a house and you can either restructure your loan, get a HELOC, or get a line of equity for your down payment on the next place, renting your first place, even if you're just breaking even and somebody else is paying your mortgage, they're paying your equity, right? They're paying into your equity. So at the end of the day, you may not be very liquid rich, right? Like your assets may not be always ready, but you do have these assets that you can call on later if you were to need them, right? So the Baltimore house is sometimes a pain in the dick. I'm not going to lie. Like it's an old house. We just had to redo the roof. Uh-oh. The mailman's here.
Wow. Okay.
Out of all the things today, this is the most surprising.
Maybe it's
Hasn't shut up since I got here, but the mailman's not an issue. That's fine, guys. Was really
oh, okay.
and on cue. There's always issues. Real estate's not like a walk in the park. I would say if you can manage a property manager, that's key, right? So that's not having to deal with when the renter switches, finding a new renter. Because in Baltimore, let me just tell you, the amount of people that come out of the woodworks, like, do you think I could pay you like on a weekly basis? It's just like, don't. It's like $200 a week. So it's like, you'll be gone the next week and you'll have trashed the house. And,
yeah,
it's finding qualified renters that are not going to break everything in your house because a deposit's only going to go so far, right? Like a lot of the fixes that we've had to do go above and beyond whatever deposit, 1 month's deposit they had to put down. So, and this whole thing with Airbnb, this is our newest adventure. We had my mom's friend, her son had passed away just very unexpectedly. And they had a place at the beach. And before it went to market, we're like, hey, can we buy this from you? So it was just kind of like I don't want to say lucky because a pretty morbid thought considering the things that had to happen to get us that house. May he rest in peace. But, renovating that, and it's a family adventure. So involving my mom, my dad, my brother, me and my husband, and having all of us agree.
So many opinions.
My God. I'm very fortunate to be close enough with my family that I can voice my opinion. They obviously think I'm over opinionated. My husband reminds
Trina and Mark, they love you.
Zach reminds me, they're only doing what you say because they're just afraid of you. It's so rude. I mean, I'm amiable, but I am pretty headstrong. But
They raised you to be that way, so they expect it.
And I always think that's never a bad quality. I look at my daughter and they're like, oh, where do you think she gets it from? A safe household. That's where she gets it from. Kids are only safe being like opinionated and okay, to a point. They have to be respectful to their opinions. But I think it's nice she knows what she wants and she can vocalize it to me and understand that it's a safe place. You can tell me what you want.
Yeah. I've really been trying to, when I see something, whether it's like that headstrong or a certain characteristic, I always imagine what that's going to look like in 10
leadership. She can be a great CEO.
Right. Well, I look at old report cards and it's like, Jess wouldn't stop talking. Okay, well, guess what? Almost 34 years later, Jess still hasn't stopped talking. And now she started a podcast where she can run her mouth even more. But I don't think that we put a positive spin on some of those things, or it's, oh, well, they're so shy. Okay, well, maybe what they want to do in life doesn't require them to have to talk an ample amount of time. Like, why are the way that our kids seen as a negative trait? And so it's been an interesting, like, I'm trying to see the future, but obviously I don't know what the future holds. But I think when I can get a glimpse of, okay, well, this is maybe what this could translate to, it makes me almost like, not that it gives me peace as if like there was a negative view on that behavior, but it's like, you can kind of relate, like you can relate to it a little bit more. Like, sometimes I'm so exhausted because Triple won't stop talking, and I'm like, maybe this is how Rob feels.
I just honestly, let's circle back because I don't think that we would be friends if you weren't so outspoken. I think I have a really hard time making friends because I'm a black cat, right? Like, I kind of keep to myself a little bit. I'll be in the mix, but I won't necessarily go out of my way to form those new bonds. You have to be around me for a while to like a cat, right? Like, I don't warm up to people very quickly because, again, I have trust issues. So I think once you're in my inner circle, it's very hard for me to let you go. And I have had to let friends go for, various reasons. Not a ton of them, but again, I don't have a ton of friends. So I'm like,
but you have a strong group. Like, you have, I think about all of your college friends.
Again, once you're in the inner circle, I don't really let you leave. Like, friends for life. You will friends. You chose this life. So when I have friends leave, sometimes it's just for external reasons, but it breaks me a little bit because I'm like, I really put a lot of effort into that, and I hate that I had to let this go. On top of all of it, it's like, damn, I hate losing friends.
Yeah.
I guess that's a part of growing up.
Well, and I think it's the relationships that you do have. I don't know if it's like me, but like, I know my friends now, and it's like, I have friends who I know that I can go to and I can call when I need to cry, or I need to go to like pitch an idea, and they're going to just say like, hell yeah, run with it. It's like, that has taken maturity over years to, instead of be like, well, you don't give me everything that I need, well, maybe we're not good friends, right? Yeah. It's like, now, okay, well, these are the things that, we can give and take, because that is a relationship. You give some, you take some, you give some, you take some. But I think where I am at now is so many of my close friends are gone. It's like, I have my gym friends who are amazing and they're great, and we work out together, and every now and then I may see them outside, but it's like, I've been so engulfed in like motherhood where I feel like I only have time to make a phone call to check in with like those friends. And I'm like, oh, I have to keep these close relationships, because if I don't call them at least once a week, then even though I understand that if I don't call them for months,
and guilt that just blankets everything I'm on.
But then I want more friends. And I tell myself, I went on Bumble. Actually,
I'm so proud of you for doing this, because again,
4 kids.
This black cat would never.
I did this before, and I don't know what got into me. I forget. I think I was just like, all my close friends are gone. And sometimes I like had identified like my gym friends as like gym friends, not always like, oh, I can actually hang out with them outside of work and I've like, or outside of the gym, and I start to do that more. But I went on and I just started swiping and met a girl, and we went out to Mexican, and she was so nice. And we had a couple like dates, I guess, if you will, after that. And she came to Tripp's first birthday party. And
You didn't even point her out to me.
I,
You, sh-
you know
maybe
what?
you did.
I don't know if you were there.
Oh,
I think
sorry.
it's okay. I think I've alternated birthday parties. Like, I'm like, okay, I didn't make it to Olivia's last year. I got to come this year. And then next year, because what I didn't realize,
You know, there's no guilt from me ever for
sure
that moved so far away. I did this to myself.
you did, but I like, we moved together and then I moved away.
That's true.
So, but yeah, Bumble was not as weird, but I will say, because my husband and I met, Rob, for those that are listening, we met on Bumble. So then
I feel like I didn't know that.
you knew this.
I think I just blacked that out.
Probably. You were probably blacked out. And so he saw Bumble on my phone one day and was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, this is not for guys, and like, this is for girls. And he's like, wait, you want girl? I was like, no, this is for friends. And he's like, this, okay. And I was like, no, look, these are friends. And then we ended up going out to a coffee shop later that evening, and we did have Trip at this point. And I remember him saying, oh, you know what? Reverse this, the brain cells also, right?
It's okay. You can get it all wrong. You can just lie to me. I want to know.
The timeline is now going back to me. It was right after Trip, and I was finding like my identity, and I was like,
that was rough. Yeah, that was a rough period.
I'm like, where, right? Because I was all in shambles. My dad had passed, and I was already in kind of like a low place.
You know, postpartum plus grieving plus, you know, first time mom is a Mack truck that just keeps running you over every single day.
So I was like, let me hide under a rock. And then when I was like, you know, ready to kind of pick the rock up, I didn't know where to start. And then I think it was easier to, again, be behind my phone, because that's always easier. But yeah, so it was after a Trip. And so now fast forward, still hadn't met her. Her name was Stephanie. And we go to a coffee shop, and Rob, we're sitting here, we're just enjoying coffee. And he was like, is your Bumble date gonna come here? And I was like, what? And he's like, did you like just want me to come along with Trip to like randomly meet your Bumble date? And I was like, no. And I was like, we're gonna plan that. I'm not gonna just pop my Bumble date up on us and make it like this family entourage.
Trusting you. He's like, you're getting a third, and I know it.
And then, we ended up like meeting her husband, and we don't really keep in touch now, but like social media, I see her. But I think anyone who is looking for friends, like Bumble, it was nice because just like dating, there are weird people, or there are people you don't connect with. And so it doesn't align. So maybe you have a common interest of fitness or religion or what have you. And so you connect, but then all of a sudden you start talking some more, or just go and meet in a social setting. And if it doesn't work, then don't see them again. But like, at least you got out. And
but you're such a social butterfly that that's your comfort zone. Like, you kind of attract people to you because you are outgoing, you're very personable, you're very sweet.
oh,
Definitely. So I don't
feel that's so funny, like hearing those things, because although I do feel and want to be energetic, I don't always feel that way. Like a lot of the times, especially with now having kids, I think I do a lot of talking in my head, like a crazy person. And so then I was in the shower the other night, and I get out, and Rob goes, are you okay? I said, yeah, why? And he goes, well, I heard you say, well, that's scary. And I said, oh,
are you awake talking to yourself?
No, I was talking about the amount of hair that I was losing in the shower.
You know what? Sometimes you have like a lot of conversations in the shower, but also the amount of hair that we lose every day. I mean, I could touch my hair and at least a couple pieces will fall, and I'm like, I'm not really sure how there's still some up top.
Yeah.
How quickly is this stuff growing to fill back?
But then I had to question myself. I said, how much? Like, what else did you hear? And I was like, wait, was that internal or external? Because I think I just walk around with like chatter of, okay, well, after I do this, I have to do
your inner monologue,
or I want to do that. And so it's always like a rush. And so I think another piece of like the puzzle of this whole podcast is helping me slow down, which is a weird way to look at it, because this is going to create more chaos in my life, which is fine, but hopefully it can bring
nice chaos is nice.
That is nice.
Everybody needs a little everybody's life is a little chaotic, kind of no matter what you're going through.
And you learn to live with it and adjust, and that's your new norm. And then it doesn't feel like you're chasing for this old version of something.
Yeah.
So I think I'm creating this new thing, whether this picks up and it's just at least
it will.
Hanging out with a lot of moms.
Do we need to throw some sponsorships? No bull shoes. Feel free to pick us up.
But maybe you should have brought that Celsius.
Oh, yeah. A nice, refreshing Celsius. I hate myself for that one. Yeah, I think another key point is making time for yourself. I think for a long time, I clearly was handling or mishandling some postpartum anxiety. Obviously, what I was going through with Zach wasn't helpful. But navigating like how, and again, trust issues, it's all the baggage, all the things you're going through. How do I trust people with my kid, right? Like, how do I and you've gone through that. I obviously didn't even make it that far for childcare because my trust issues run so deep. But I think even just having to have Zach watch the kids, and it's like, I don't trust you right now. So why would I trust you with my kids? They are our kids, but you're kind of removing yourself from the our part. So that made it really hard for me to have hobbies or to do anything that I liked to do. I mean, I was hardly showering. I just felt like now I take a firm stance in I'm not asking you to go shower. I'm telling that I'm showering and that I will be back in 15 minutes. My expectation is that you will keep the children away from the bathroom, even because they are the first ones to just, my little Velcro kids padding on up the stairs, and I'm like just waiting in the shower to hear them, I'm gonna shower too. And it's like, I love that you want to do everything that I want to do, but also I have to exist without you guys just for just a tiny bit.
I feel it in my bones. I think it was just yesterday. I was like, hey, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And Trip goes, well, are you pooping or peeing? And I said, well, it's not your business. But I go invasive. Actually, it's number 2. And he goes, can I watch? And I said, no. Can I just close the door?
No.
A second. Like,
not allowed.
There's a lot of other things. And then, this last, where are we? 8 months, almost 8 months, 6 months, started my period. Poor boy was like, what is that? And I was like, mommy's okay. This just happens once a month. And he's like, you're okay? And I was like, okay. And then he sees me like pull out a tampon and he's like, what are you doing with that? This is why I watch it. I'm like, again, hard stance, get out of the bathroom. We will just know that your future wife, you will help her, or your future girlfriend, if she needs tampons, go and get them. We'll have more conversation later. This is my 15 seconds to just go to the bathroom by myself.
My kids will come up to me throughout the day with either various pads or tampons for your butt, and they'll just hand it to me. All right. There's just no line anymore. There's no boundaries with your separate life from your kids. Your kids just get to be part of all of it.
But you love them. And then it's like,
oh, definitely. Then I feel guilty as hell.
Right. Oh, man, I'm sorry.
Not part of it.
Bathroom. I'm so sorry. Like, I wanted the privacy.
Because then you think for a second, like, was it a big deal? No.
No, but it's like, you Because then now it's reversed, and he'll go to the bathroom and he'll say, "Mommy, Daddy, private view." You know? Well, sometimes, yeah, it's weird. You don't know what you're gonna get. It's either, "Can I have some privacy?" or, "Can you sit down and tell me a story?" And then I'm like, "Dude, it is
We're camping
up here," because he's like, "Can you turn the fan on? And then can you actually come in here and sit down with me?" And I'm like, "Absolutely not. I'll stand right outside this door and then we can have a conversation." He's like, "But like, right." I'm like, "I'm right here. I got your sister. We do not need to introduce her to those gases."
Oh man. And having my kids kind of closer together, they, shower at the same time. So, and they're always naked. So very quickly I've had to been like, these are private areas. You don't touch, you don't touch. His is different than yours, obviously. It's the same for all boys, same for all girls. You'd allow. And we just take like a really nonchalant, there'll be a little bit more spaced apart. So how are you going to handle that? Are you going to let them?
So what, they're a 3-year gap. So like in terms of like showers or
Like, will you be like showering them separate or like bathing them separate?
so, I mean, they're bathing now. I mean, I think I'm always a big gut person. I think like once your gut tells you, okay,
He's too old for this.
yeah, we are now past the age of that. But like he knows mommy has a vagina, and it's taken him a while to realize, like, why don't you have this? Why don't you have a penis? Because I don't.
Just wait till Josie starts talking.
Yeah.
Libby's always like, why are your boobies like that? Are my boobies gonna be like she's like, they're not like that.
What do you mean? What is like that?
She's like, why do you have hair? She calls her vagina her like front butt, I guess.
Oh.
And so it just has shortened to like butt. And so I'm like, is it your vagina or your butt? She's like, my butt. And I'm like, in the front or in the back?
Mm-hmm.
She's like, what's hair on your butt? I'm like, you need to mind your old business. Because it's been a while since Tommy got a vagina.
And I think it's my perspective, but I think it's important. We call what it is by its actual name. We don't call it its cookie or whatever the other silly names that we have created in the past. So I have to be mindful that now that Trip, he's in daycare and he says those things, we have to kind of, right, like help him educate on when to say those things. And now it's like, and then it's situational. So
yes and no. He's being anatomically correct, so no one's going to really fault him for that. Obviously, don't just shout penis, for
like
5
I did in like high school.
Right.
I think
Time and place. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, Brandi, this has been,
I think we covered 10% of all topics. So
yeah, I mean,
leave them wanting more.
I know. Well, thank you so much for letting me use you as my guinea pig.
Yeah.
Because I hope that it, takes off, and we'll have you back.
I hope so too.
And be able to revisit and just have more conversations.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Come hang out with me on Instagram at Hustle and Healing Podcast for more real talk, laughs, and support. You can also listen on YouTube and Spotify. So be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and do me a favor. Share this episode with a fellow mom who needs to hear it. Keep hustling, keep healing, and don't forget to reheat that coffee again. See you next time.